back to Kung Fu Maintenance. Well, we got a door that needs a patch in it, and there's definitely a lot of different ways to get this done. I'm going to show you, starting off with caulking. I'm going to fill in all of these openings, and that way when we use mud or something else, it doesn't press in more as you're starting to spread it in. It's kind of nice if everything is nice and firm. So by using the caulking, we're just going to make that kind of seal everything, kind of link it and make it so it has a little bit of give and can do what we want it to do. Definitely a lot of options. You could almost just fill it all in with caulking, but the problem with caulking is you can't sand it. So if it comes out this way more, you're kind of stuck. You can't do anything about that. And the advantage of like a patching compound, like a 15-minute mud or something, 20-minute mud, is that you can actually sand it. And with something like this, well, the disadvantage of something that you can sand is it can also crack if the door is ever slammed or whatnot. Nice advantage of caulking is it's flexible. It's not gonna crack. So there's definitely more than one ways to get it done. So what I'm going to be using the caulking for, again, is to lend support and little flexibility once I do put the patching compound in. And I'm just not doing anything that's higher than the level. This way we can still sand things down if we need to, and we can kind of mimic things, mimic our pattern. So that's that. There's also a little spot up here. This I can probably just use caulking for. Fill in this. It's going to be a little more forgiving. Again, the same thing. I'm not wanting anything to go over. But I kind of use it to get the bit of a flexible turn here. Alright, that'll work just fine. And this one, we'll let it dry, and then I'll come back and patch it all in. Yeah, a lot of options. You could almost just fill it all in. But I'll use a patching compound, as it'll give me a lot more forgivability, and I think I'll get a better blend. A little bit of an art form, a little bit of fun. Alright, so this we'll just want to make sure everything's nice and flat, nice and smooth. Not going to be any surprises when we go to fill it. Nice and simple. There we go. Now we just got to mix up a little mud. Okay, so now we're going to mix up a little mud. And I've got just some in a bag here. Oop. Okay. And I don't need all this, just enough to do the job. So I'm just going to scoop some out. Get my hand a little dry. Again, just a little more. That should do it. Okay, now we need half as much water. So it's 2 parts powder, 1 part water. And this one's going to be a little stubborn. And that's kind of the way it is sometimes. Okay. That should work out good. Get more of the powder all in the water there. And that's going to do it. And we've got a good consistency there. That's about all we're going to need. Alright, get it done. Okay, here we go. Just going to get it right on my deal here. Kind of clean it off everything else. I really don't want it on much of anything else. Get my smoothest portion of the mud that I can. And not really wanting to get it into other areas, but it's a little tricky. Oops. Just kind of took it out of where we do want it. Okay, and there's definitely some different tactics you could use here. You can leave it a little high, you can go straight low. I almost want to leave mine a little bit high so that I can kind of try to mimic my pattern here, because the tricky part is I've got, this other pattern all around it, and I'll show you after. We're gonna wipe it down with a wet rag. And our mix is a little thicker than we really want it to be. It'd be a little bit easier probably to work with if it was a little thinner. In fact, I may just scrape this down a little low and then come back and add a little water to my current mix and put it on a little thinner on the finish part of it. Otherwise this is going to be a little tricky to work with, but that's okay. How it is sometimes. It's got to be a little tricky. Okay, now mix this with a little more water and come and finish that. Okay, I think I've not gone too far yet. So, just mix that with a little more water. And I'm going to make that move around a little bit easier, float it a little easier. Just to finish this thing off. So that'll be a little easier there. Okay, the rest that's probably going to be better to mess with once it's dry. And then we'll just use a wet rag and we'll mimic our pattern. That'll be that. Now it's dried. Just following day. So just a wet rag. Looks good. Take down all the high spots. And all this other stuff that we didn't want on there. Take all that away. And we'll just be focusing on just the deal here. And we'll bring it nice and even. Looks like I may need some more to actually float this up here. Can use caulking, but then caulking makes sand, so it's better to use the mud or spackling. Spackling will actually work good for this. It's looking pretty good. Just need to fill that. Maybe a little here. I can take this down to the level. One won't matter so much. Okay, so we had those couple low spots there, and what I have is this spackling DAP has some really cool stuff. It's used for interior or exterior, which is what I really like. You just want to make sure you paint it afterwards, especially if you use it for exterior. But some really cool stuff. It goes on pink and it dries white. I've been using it for a long time for spackling and stuff, and it actually I like it better than most of the other spacklings I've used. Now, I noticed by doing this, as I was doing this, that what we can do is use the knife to press in and get match up our ripple here. So what I'm going to do is float a little of this stuff on. And going to spread it in, and we're going to use the knife. So I'm spreading it in here. See if we can get it nice and smooth all the way. And that's looking really good. Other than this little bit over here, which actually wouldn't worry about that too much. We'll use a wet rag when we're done, and we'll clean that off. And what we're going to do is just come along and just mimic our line, just pressing it in on the line. And don't worry about getting it perfect, just kind of, you know, a little bit's better than nothing. You can see we're just mimicking the grain, just kind of copying it. Gonna make it look similar. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be, well, not close to perfect. It'll just be what it is, okay? But we're mimicking that grain. And just have a little fun with it. It's a little bit of an artwork. If you get something wrong, you can spread it back in and start again. And again, this is something that you can use a wet rag when you're finished to go over it. It's just, you're going to have to make a judgment call at some point when you paint it. Once you paint it, it's extremely hard to clean it off. or to do anything different. You know, you can sand it really easy before you paint it, but painting is kind of the point of no return. So anyway, again, just get it. I think that's going to be good. The little questionable spot is sometimes right around the edges, because that's where you've got a bit of a transition. That should do really well. So I'm going to go with that. Going to, and sometimes it just reaches a point where, you know what, that's as good as it's going to get. Don't mess with it anymore. But that's the tricky part. That I could see being a little bit smoother, but we'll let it dry and we'll see how that goes and we'll go from there. And if we need to fix it up at all, then we'll do that too. And just to go further, if any of this was down over this portion, then you would just use your knife and mimic it that way instead, since that particular bit of grain is a little bit different. The direction of the grain is different. Just mimicking what you got. I think that's going to work out good. We'll see. And what's cool about this stuff is once it dries, it turns white, so you'll know when you can paint it. And here it is, all painted in. It's not perfect, but much better. And don't forget to check out the Kung Fu Maintenance ebook. The link is in the description below the video, along with the tools and parts used in a lot of the videos you can find in the video descriptions below. Hope you liked it.